Hey everybody, thank you so much for having me here today. I'm Andy Hines-Lagaman with Tidewater Coaching. I'm an emotional intelligence practitioner and I'm also attending Indiana Wesleyan right now to get my master's of psychology. So a lot of people have heard of emotional intelligence. It's become sort of buzzwordy in the media lately. But the more I read articles and see posts and things like that, there's a lot of sort of actual misconception about what the heck emotional intelligence actually is. So without reading you the slide verbatim, emotional intelligence is the way we think and feel about ourselves on the inside, the way that manifests itself in the outside world, how we develop and maintain relationships, solve problems, and cope with stress. So it's like a whole ball of yarn. It's not just empathy, which is what a lot of people boil it down to. So here you'll see the emotional intelligence model, the EQ model. You'll notice that it is circular in nature rather than a straight line or a pyramid or something, because we really believe that every facet of your emotional intelligence impacts every other facet of your emotional intelligence. So I mentioned empathy, for example. If your empathy is off, other stuff is probably going to be off too. That concept of integration is sort of emphasized by the little arrow shapes that you see from one wedge of the pie to the next. And then under each category, each sort of header of the circle, you'll see 3 subcategories that dig a little bit deeper into that specific piece of your emotional intelligence. For the sake of time, we're not going to go into all 15, plus your mind will go sort of numb after a while. It's a lot to take in one 40-minute session. So, but for today, for the topic of our conference, empowerment, I went ahead and looked up the definitions of power. What is power? Because I feel like we get also some sort of negative feelings when people say the word power, like somebody can be overpowering, or if somebody is really expressing themselves in a very powerful way, that can be very intimidating and a little bit almost scary, right? So, but I loved these specific words in the definition of power: the ability to act or produce an effect, possession of control, authority, or influence over others, mental or moral efficacy, and a source or means of supplying energy. So that's kind of what I want us to focus on for today's presentation. But really quickly, we're going to do a little icebreaker. We're going to do a humble brag. So pick somebody in the room, somebody preferably that you don't know super well. If you're watching this online, text a friend or put a comment in the chat box or whatever it is that you're doing. Tell somebody an accomplishment that you have, something that you have done that you are super, super proud of. And it can be professionally related, it can be personally related. I grew the biggest tomato you've ever seen this year, or I just really killed it on those reports I had to turn in for work, whatever it may be. Just take a minute to do that really quickly. And the other piece of this icebreaker is that I want you to respond to the person talking to you with some really, really amazing words of affirmation. Tell them how awesome they are. Tell them what a great job they did, even if you don't know them. I'll give you just a couple seconds for that. And because faith is a big part of who I am, and thankfully as part of this conference, you will notice that I will have scripture interspersed throughout my presentation as well. So the first verse that I have for you today is, "For the Spirit God gave us does not make us timid, but gives us power." The Spirit God gave us. His Spirit is inside you. Like, there could not be anything more powerful, so don't forget that. So I want you to keep in mind also that there is a whole spectrum of power. So when you're feeling pressure, when you're feeling stressed, somebody is questioning you, you have decisions to make, you probably fall in a spectrum of how powerful you feel in that moment. Do you feel more like a roly-poly bug? Somebody pokes you and you just like, ugh, you like shrink up and you turn inside yourself and you don't talk, and that's just it freaks you out, right? Or on the other end of the spectrum, are you a lion? Does somebody poke you, question you, and you just come at them with all you got, right? Your big voice, your outdoor voice. So keep that spectrum in mind. Again, here on the slide, it just says, kind of, do you keep yourself or your thoughts to yourself, or do you interrupt people? That's another lion characteristic. You can't even wait for them to be done talking before you're already out with your thoughts. And also, start to put your thoughts together about what you need to feel powerful. What is it that is lacking in those roly-poly bug moments for you? Do you need some validation? Do you just need more information and resources? Just kind of, what does that look like? Is it love that you're lacking? Just maybe jot down some notes in your notebook about that. So the first emotional intelligence skill that we're going to talk about today is self-regard. This is your inner self. This is respecting yourself while understanding and accepting your own strengths and weaknesses. This is self-confidence and self-respect. A lot of times people refer to this as self-esteem, something we've heard about as women since our middle school health class. And this is a feeling of confidence and being fulfilled. And this is also self-talk. What is the story you tell yourself about yourself? And also throughout my presentation, I'm going to give you some little coaching moments. So this is your first one. So in the scope of self-regard, if you are feeling on maybe the lower end of that spectrum, because all of these skills, again, are on a spectrum. If you're feeling on the lower end of that self-regard, you use self-deprecating humor, you think and talk negatively about yourself. Remind yourself of your past success, right? This is an exercise we just did during our icebreaker. But I want to give you 2 additional exercises here. One is make sure your resume is updated and keep that bad boy right on the desktop of your computer so that if you're in a moment, you're at work and you have a big decision to make and you're feeling a little bit imposter syndrome, or you have made a decision and somebody is questioning you, open that resume and remind yourself who you are. You are qualified. You got where you are for a reason. You're smart. You're capable. That resume is going to tell you all of those things. The second thing I want you to do, is to make yourself a personal resume. And this is a really hard task for a lot of people. I coach my clients through this a lot, and hands down, they say this is much more difficult than the professional resume, because what I want you to do is get out your gel pens and get out your stickers, or use Canva where you can have all kinds of fun graphics. I want you to make this really pretty, but this resume has nothing to do with your professional experience, expertise, any of that. This resume is, I am a really good mom. Like I said earlier, I grew a huge, beautiful tomato this summer. I am great at crocheting. Whatever those things are that fulfill you on a personal level. Now, if creating a gorgeous spreadsheet really just touches your soul, then for sure put it on this resume as well. But for the most part, I really want you to keep this about the personal stuff, and also keep this on your desktop, because we all have those moments where we're like, well, no Mother of the Year award for me today, I guess. I did not get dinner on the table before 8 p.m. and I yelled at my kid, and whatever the case may be. Open that resume too and remind yourself that you actually are a good person and you do a lot of good stuff. The second point here, if your self-regard is on the lower end, I want you to learn something new. And again, because I talked about spreadsheets, I'll say if spreadsheets just really set your guts on fire and you want to take a class in Excel so that you can learn how to create formulas, and whatever the case may be, go ahead and learn something new that that impacts your career, your professional capabilities, but also learn something new on the personal side of your life. Learn how to decorate a cake. Learn how to, I don't know, volunteer for some new organization that you maybe didn't know anything about. The key here is making sure that you give yourself lots of opportunities to flex this new muscle, to experience and utilize this new skill that you have learned. Whether it's on the personal side or the professional side, there's all this great, like, positive chemicals going on in your brain that tell you you're doing a good job. And so if it's on the personal side, it's still going to make you feel better, do better professionally, and vice versa. So it's just a great exercise. Now, if you're on the higher side of self-regard, you're like, I'm amazing and I totally got this. Don't forget to be collaborative, because newsflash, you're maybe not always the smartest person in the room. It's just a good idea to reinforce the people around you, the people on your teams, make sure that they feel heard and seen as well. And if this comes as a challenge for you, make sure that you're connecting with those folks on a personal level. At work, a lot of times I know we can keep it very surface level, and we're like, okay, well, I know that if I need a meeting to be led, Barry does a really good job at that, or whatever. But do you actually know the people that you work with? Do you know what they're dealing with at home? I mean, and I'm not talking everybody has to spill their guts to everybody, but, hey, how was Susie's softball game? Or, just kind of getting a little bit deeper into people's personal lives. It'll help you to meet them where they are from the day-to-day in the office. So my next verse. So do not throw away your confidence. It will be richly rewarded. And that phrase just hit me right in the gut. Do not throw away your confidence. Like literally wadding it up like a piece of trash, a piece of scrap paper, and putting it in the garbage. I just can't even imagine throwing away that gift that God gives us. Okay, the next skill we're going to talk about is assertiveness, which for women we really struggle with. Societally, culturally, we are groomed not to be assertive. We are expected to be small, talk small, play small, be small. Small, small, small. The smaller the better. Be a roly-poly bug. So assertiveness, this is your outward expression. This is standing up for yourself. This is communicating thoughts, feelings, beliefs, and defending personal rights in a socially acceptable and non-offensive, non-destructive manner, right? So not being a lion on that spectrum. Being direct with respect. This is we versus me. And saying no and setting boundaries. All of which, as I'm saying it out loud, I'm seeing heads nod. I know all of these things are extremely, extremely difficult for women, I think, in particular. So if you're feeling on the lower end of this spectrum, my number one piece of advice, which seems maybe a little bit silly or something, but is fake it till you make it. Think about how you want to sound. Think about how you want to look. Think about how you want to feel in that moment where you have to go into that difficult meeting or you have to have that confrontational conversation. Think of somebody that you know, or maybe somebody that you've seen on TV or on a movie, and you're like, I love the way that person carries themselves. I love the way that person takes control of a situation and everything just kind of goes okay. And now I'm going to tell you my person, because I'm such a believer in this practice. If anyone has ever watched Scandal, I channel my inner Olivia Pope in these situations because she is a total rock star. First of all, I want her entire wardrobe. Let's be honest. She dresses so amazingly. She doesn't walk into a confrontational meeting and cry. She walks in, she is cool and confident, she owns the room in her amazing heels and everything else, and people kind of rally around her. They rally around that, and everything just kind of works out. The second practice here is know your whys. So if you're feeling like your inclination is going to be to hold back in a meeting, when you know that you have got to go and state your idea, state your opinion, make sure that you know why that is your idea or your opinion. Do you need facts and data to back it up? Do you need to articulate a situation that happened in the past that showed us that this is the way it needs to go? Getting very comfortable, very familiar with why you have made your decision will help you to articulate it when you get into the moment with those folks. Now, if you're on the higher end of assertiveness and you're kind of a lion, make sure you're leveraging your empathy. Again, look at the people around you in the room. For any emotional intelligence skill, if you're on the high end of it, I'm going to say we tend to assume that everybody else is operating at that same level. They are not necessarily. So particularly in the case of assertiveness, you have to be aware that not everybody is operating at that same level of high assertiveness as you are. So if you are in that meeting, you're in that conversation, and you're just really asserting, you know why, you know what to do, you're really, really putting it out there, let's say. But you can see that Brenda is kind of holding back. Her body language is telling you she's feeling very small. Just, exercising that empathy, being aware of everyone else in the room and making sure that you are allowing space for them to also speak. I'm just going to say, because it's Northeast Indiana, particularly if you are one of the two women in the boardroom, make sure you are allowing room for the other woman to be assertive as well. And I'll get off my soapbox about that. And then the final point on assertiveness, if your assertiveness is high, this is, again, such a stereotypical women thing, but just be really careful not to fall over the line into aggression. Again, because we do kind of play small, act small, when we flex this muscle and we are practicing assertiveness, it can be a natural progression to suddenly use our emotions in a bigger way than we mean to, let's say. And the verse I chose here is, "Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go." Okay, and our next EQ skill is stress tolerance. And this is coping, like in the most basic definition of this skill. This is your ability to cope with stressful or difficult situations, belief that one can change or manage or influence situations in a positive manner. And with that, it gives a direct link to optimism, right? So I know that I'm having a challenge. I know that this project just went sideways, but I am optimistic that it's going to be temporary and that I can figure out how to overcome it. So if your stress tolerance is on the lower end of the spectrum and you're like, man, everything just like absolutely shakes me to my bones, make sure that you are taking wellness moments throughout your day. I think as women, there is a lot of expectation for us to sort of juggle everything and have some sort of like workout routine throughout the week, and that's just sometimes not realistic, because if you're like me, you work from 6 a.m. until midnight every day, and there's just not time for that. But make sure you're building in wellness moments throughout your day. So even if that's just taking 20 minutes to go for a walk, or taking 20 minutes to just breathe, Eat a healthy meal. Anything that fills your cup, right, throughout your day. Just take those little breaks, take those little moments, stretch your muscles, get a glass of water, whatever that may be. And actually, the two biggest things that I coach here is air and water. So if you're feeling stressed out, something is really just overwhelming you, think to yourself, air and water. I want you to take deep breaths. I want you to center your mind right in your chest. What is your breath doing? Is it shallow and jagged? Can you control it? Sometimes it takes a couple of minutes to slow it down, deepen that breath, and go for a walk outside. Those are the two air facets. And then water. If you work from home, can you take 20 minutes to go soak your feet in the bathtub? We're not redoing our makeup in the middle of the day and taking a whole bath, but can you go soak your feet in the bathtub? And get yourself a glass of water. And I'm not talking river water from the sink. I'm talking get yourself a nice sparkling water, put some fruit in it. It's pampering, it's special. Go for that. The second tip here is work-life blending. And now I'm going to get on a different soapbox. We all hear the phrase work-life balance. And I'm a visual thinker. My undergrad is in fine art. And so when I hear that phrase, work-life balance, I think of literally a scale. And on one side, you've got your work, your company, if you're an entrepreneur, your job. And let's just say also your professional responsibilities, like if you're on boards and things like that. And on the other side, you've got your family, your spouse, your kids, whatever that family dynamic looks like. And if your work needs attention, suddenly the children are suffering. Oh, the children. Who is ever going to take care of the children? And on the other end, if you have to go to Tommy's soccer game, then you are an irresponsible worker and your business is going to fail. And what are you doing? Spending time on anything except your work. And let's put over here also, your own care as well. Eating, showering, things like that. I hate that whole visual. I coach against it all the time. In fact, I have a whole other presentation that is against work-life balance and all about work-life blending. So what I want you to think about, because you are all responsible, professional, smart women, I want you to repeat after me, work-life blending, because if the kids need attention, you're going to give them attention. And if your work needs attention, you're going to give it attention. And if you need attention, you are going to give yourself attention. And at the end of the day, it just kind of all will work out. So that's my soapbox about work-life blending. If you are on the high side of stress tolerance, you're juggling 17 tennis balls and Bob comes in your office and throws four more tennis balls at you and you're like, that's fine, I got this, it's totally fine. Maybe you don't. Maybe you don't have the resources, actually, to get it done. Maybe you're being a little overly optimistic. So get a second opinion. Bounce those thoughts and ideas off of trusted coworkers, colleagues. See how they react. What does their body language do? What does their face do when you tell them you've got this big idea and everything's going to be fine? And then also try to predict the needs of others. Again, I go back to the illustration of Brenda in the boardroom, who is, not being assertive. Maybe she also doesn't cope with stress super well. And her plate is already full and you walk in and you throw 4 more things on it. Please be aware of her needs and of her reactions and meet her where she is. Make sure she's got the resources she needs. Make sure she's got a realistic timeline, all of those sorts of things. And the verse for this skill, therefore do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. So the takeaways from today: your emotions, your choice. So you can actually choose how you feel and what to do with that information. Culturally, societally, educationally, we are not taught to be aware of our emotions. So what happens is you've got something that happens, you've got an instance, a circumstance, we skip right over the emotion and we react. And what we need to do is allow ourselves permission to pause at the point of impact. And whether that's taking a breath right there in the boardroom before you just start talking over everyone else like a lion, whether that is saying, I will get right back to you on that. I need to go and gather some more information, at which point you go back to your office and you get whatever you need, or you just gather yourself mentally so that you can go back and effectively handle those conversations. Allow yourself permission to pause, acknowledge the emotion, decide what to do with it, and move forward. The second point is, you are amazing. Even if I don't know you, I know that you're amazing. I want you to remember that you're amazing. I want you to refer to your personal resume. I want you to refer to your professional resume to remind yourself that you're amazing. Find your voice. So in those moments of a crazy situation, a conversation in the boardroom, at work, and you're feeling like a roly-poly bug, make sure you remember your voice and use it, and allow other people in the room to use their voice as well. And finally, take good care. So don't dismiss or de-emphasize the need for taking care of yourself as you are blending your work and life together. My final verse that I will leave you with is my all-time favorite verse from Matthew. Even the waves obey his voice. And this verse has a lot of personal meaning for me because back in 2017, I had been very, very sick. I went through, I had cervical cancer, and then my autoimmune system basically just failed. I was going through a terrible divorce, and my business was struggling, and everything was bad and just swirling around me. And seems like a weird thing to be gifted, but a friend of mine with a woodworking business where he rescues wood from natural disasters, he gifted me with a piece of wood from Hurricane Katrina. And that was Three Feathers Woodworking here in town. And then Matthew Plett, who is a local mural artist, painted this verse on that piece of wood for me, and it hangs in my living room. So I always remember, never forget, even when things are crazy, even when you feel like you're not blending very well, even when you don't feel assertive in the boardroom, even when you feel bad about yourself, God is in control. Even the waves obey his voice. So now I'll open it up for some Q&A if anyone has any questions. If you are looking for any additional information or resources on emotional intelligence, here's a slide where you can find all kinds of good stuff. Of course, don't hesitate also to reach out to me, and here is my contact information as well. Thank you so much.
Okay, so we're going to move right along. First, before we introduce our second speaker, I would love to introduce the lady who's going to introduce our second speaker, Frances Brooks. Frances is a health and education fundraiser, arts advocate, and community volunteer. She received her bachelor's degree from Huntington University in Communications, Print Media, and her master's degree from Indiana Wesleyan University in Organizational Leadership. Good choice. Frances is a Leadership Fort Wayne alumna and works as the Director of Development and Community Engagement for Indiana University Fort Wayne. Frances has also been serving on the First Fridays Women's Empower Committee since 2019, and she's done a great job. Frances brings heart and passion into all she sets out to do. So you know, when you're event planning and you have a talented person on the committee who says, Jan, bring it down, bring it down. No, I don't think it's a good idea to take First Friday's women's event to Paris and do shopping after the event. Bring it down, bring it down. So she's the lady who empowers you so you don't pull your hair out. That's Frances. Frances, come on up. Yeah, we just have a little housekeeping to do. That's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
Thank you. Thank you all. Give me just a second. We got to take care of each other, don't we? Ladies, I'm about to introduce you to a powerhouse. Andy, you did fantastic. I don't know how we top you, but we're going to add two, right? It's not a competition. And thank you all for coming. I know we've been through a lot in the last 2 years. I'd like to introduce you this morning to someone who's going to leave you with the concepts of faith, purpose, and your own potential. She leads the health visions of Midwest Indiana, focused on Southeast Fort Wayne and beyond. And she's the owner of a communications company called Move Forward. Both an IU graduate as well as a master's from Liberty University, she's a professional communicator. Among us, she's written 5 books and a gospel play. And she has a new book coming out here before the end of the year called Possess It. She's going to share with us some concepts she'll find in that. And you can also find information about her in the back of the room today. So I'd like to introduce you to Sharon Tubbs. She's going to help you gain confidence in your worth, help you figure out how to reach your full potential, and live out God's calling on your life. Sharon?
Thank you so much, Frances. Oh, we got a lot of stuff up here. Let me see if I can make my way up here. Okay, hold on. Let me get focused. Let me get straightened out. Okay. Frances, thank you for that. I want to thank Indiana Wesleyan and Jan and hey, Dan. I'm seeing folks I know. For inviting me to speak. It is a tremendous honor. I have never spoken at First Fridays or anything like that, but I have spoken before. So this is wonderful. And it's just great to just see everybody here and trying to be safe and gather together and feel that camaraderie once again. So thank you guys for coming. Yeah, woohoo, woohoo. Can we do that? Can we do a little woohoo? So I brought this up here because it's cute. It's cute, right? A little decoration that you put on the shelf, and you look at this, and you see some flowers, and you see some colors, and you see something that looks good. Am I doing something wrong with the mic? Okay. You see something that looks good. But if you look close, if you were close enough to this to see, what you would see is that all around the edges of this are broken shards of glass. All around on the inside is broken. And I was thinking, of this prop because it reminded me so much of us. Ladies, I know y'all were going to come looking good today. I tried a little bit, I said, let me put on my suit, my black and white, pop it with a little red. Is that okay, Leslie? Leslie's the fashion lady over there. Did that work? Okay, that was my sister's idea. So I was like, okay, let me try this. But on the outside, aren't we so good at making brokenness look special? I know that there are some women in here this morning, maybe a couple men too, with a little brokenness on the inside that nobody sees until they get real close up. I was reminded of that recently, that we can have all the boxes checked. We can come to work looking very special and good. We can have the resume with all the credentials. We can have the cutest little pixie cut there is. And on the inside, we just feel broken. So today, just for a little bit, I don't have that much time, but just for a little bit, I am going to talk about how you can repair just a little piece of that brokenness. And one way you can do that is by walking in your purpose. Walking in your purpose, because when you begin to walk in your purpose, you can look forward to the promise. Oh, I forgot to flip my picture and all of that. Okay. That's what my talk is today. Empowered for purpose because of the promise. I want to ask you a few questions. Think on yourself. Okay. Are you living the life you're supposed to live right now? Write it down on your little notebook. Am I living the life that I'm supposed to live right now? Don't make it complicated. No, I'm not going to put any boundaries on it. I'm not going to say, well, are you living the life on your work job? Or are you living the life in your personal? Are you living the life you're supposed to live right now? Okay. I see some people are still writing. They're writing about their lives. This is good. My second question, does your life look like you dreamed it would? That's a whole different ballgame. Okay, wait a minute. And the third question, regardless of your answers to 1 and 2, how can you make a positive impact on others where you are? Now that's one you can write down. How can you make a positive impact on others right where you are? So since I'm asking you these questions, why don't I go on ahead and answer them for myself? So for me, yes, I'm living the life that I'm supposed to live. That's what I believe, okay? My purpose, I discovered some time ago, is to help people live out their full potential, to empower people to do just that, okay? And so that's what I do. Hopefully I'm doing that today. I do that when I write. I do that in my job as a nonprofit leader. I help people to live their best healthy lives. I do that when I'm speaking, leading, all of that stuff. So I am living the life that I'm supposed to live. Does it look like what I thought it would? Heck no. I didn't cuss. I did not. I said heck. No, I'm not. Y'all, I'm supposed to be married with the finest husband right now. 2 kids, boy, girl, very cute and perfect. I'm supposed to be a New York Times bestselling author, all of that stuff. And none of that is true for me. I'm single. I'm 48. I have no kids. And you should have seen me in the season of my life when I recognized, you know what, Sharon? You're probably not going to have any kids. And I had to embrace that. And I had to say to myself, I still have purpose. And by the way, I'm not supposed to be in Fort Wayne. I'm supposed to be in a bigger metropolis, Atlanta, or somewhere fun with it going on. And not to say that Fort Wayne doesn't have it going on, I'm sorry. Hoosiers. I'm actually from Fort Wayne. I grew up in Fort Wayne, and I left for 20 years. Okay, and worked as a reporter and all this different kind of stuff in other places. And then I came back, broke, busted, and discouraged. About 5 years ago. And I remember I came back and I said, you know what? I'm just going to do some stuff, get myself together. And then I'm going to go back to a happening town. And 5 years later, I'm still here. And I was going to hide in my church. See, what I had started this business. I had left my job feeling that that's what God had told me to do. And now I was on my way. And 3 years into that, I was broke. I said, I got to get some money. Let me go back up to Fort Wayne, get myself together for a year, and hide. And I started going to this church. And I'll never forget the first lady of that church asked me out to lunch. And she came to lunch with my book. And she said, I was looking in my closet and I turned this book over on the back. Is this your picture? This is you. And I'm like, oh, God, I've been found out. I'm somebody really living like nobody. So no, this is not the life of my dreams, but can I make a difference where I am? Oh, yes. Oh, yes, and you can too. Because we all have purpose. Now, I'm not going to talk this morning a lot about how to find your purpose and all of that, because I really think that flows from you. Your purpose is where you have your passion. Okay? But what I'm going to talk about is how hard it is to live in purpose, to live intentionally, even if you feel you know what your purpose is. Because I know I'm talking to a lot of business ladies up in here, folks who have it going on. But sometimes living in purpose, living in your purpose, living out what you feel you're called to do is the hardest thing ever. And that's what we don't talk about that much. Everybody thinks that once you start doing what you're supposed to do and being what you're supposed to be, and you just wake up feeling good every day, and life is wonderful. But it's not. And it can be. I want this to be uplifting. I'm gonna get to the uplifting piece. But you were created to live a life of purpose no matter what. And while I have a very faith-based foundation, you may not. But this thing about purpose, it goes beyond faith. People from all walks talk about what it is to have a life of purpose and how that is beneficial to who we are. So let's look. Okay, so my go-to would be the Apostle Paul, Romans 8:28. We are confident that God is able to orchestrate everything to work toward something good and beautiful when we love him and accept his invitation to live according to his plan. Okay, so we're living according to his plan. Things are going to be good. Some good stuff is going to happen. You may not be feeling that. What about Eleanor Roosevelt? She said the purpose of life is to live it, to taste experience to the utmost, to reach out eagerly and without fear for newer and richer experience. You may not be feeling that. What about Steve Maraboli? You were put on this earth to achieve your greatest self, to live out your purpose and to do it courageously. Behavioral scientist and speaker. I got you if you're not even feeling that. What about great philosopher Dostoevsky? The mystery of human existence lives not in just staying alive, but in finding something to live for. Steve Goodyear, beware of this thing about callings. They may not lead us where we intended to go or even where we want to go. If we choose to follow, we may have to be willing to let go of the life we already planned and accept whatever it is waiting for us. And if the calling is true, though we may not have gone where we intended, we will surely end up where we need to be. And Maya Angelou, there is no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside of you. We got some stories in the room today that need to be lived out, that need to be told. Here's what I found out. When I began to study purpose and promise and how I have to live out the purpose even when it doesn't feel good, there are some things that I found out. There are some things that I realized that I want to share with you, and then I'm going to tell you a story about how I came to these realizations. Your purpose, this is not on the screen, because I did this like 2 weeks ago, and I wasn't all the way done. I did the slides 2 weeks ago. Okay. Your purpose draws you farther than you ever would go. There are places that I have gone just to live out my purpose that I would never have gone if I didn't know that I had purpose. Your purpose introduces you to people you never would know. Your purpose makes you accomplish more than you ever dreamed you would. There are things that I am doing now as a nonprofit leader, raising money to do things. I do not like to ask people for money. I had a donor that I met with recently, and he agreed to give me a large donation. And after he agreed, I got scared. I was like, well, do you want to think about it and let me know tomorrow? It's like, we need to work on your ask, Sharon. Your purpose includes blessings on top of blessings on top of blessings. That's the good part. Because when you live your life intentionally, when you live your life in a way that influences others positively, that purpose, which is often for others, will lead you to a promise that is for you. Thank you. And so I began to see purpose and promise more clearly a few years ago. And when I began to study, now for me, again, a faith-based person, I began to study the story in the Bible about the promised land. Okay? Now, for those of you who don't know a lot about the Bible, that's fine. That's okay. Let me tell you the story real quick. So there's a story in the Bible, and it starts with this guy named Abraham. Abraham actually is the father of the three major religions, Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. And so God gave Abraham this promise. He said, your descendants are going to outnumber the stars in the sky. And in years to come, I'm going to give your descendants this land, a land called Canaan, AKA the promised land, AKA the land of milk and honey. He said, I'm going to give them this land and they're going to live here. And the reason that was such a big deal was because the land of milk and honey, as you can imagine, was a land of milk and honey. Doesn't that sound like a luxurious land? I mean, they had all kinds of the brand chocolate up there in the land of milk and honey. It was just flowing with it. It was fertile soil, juicy grapes and pomegranates and all kinds of things. And he said, they're going to live here, I promise you. Now, Abraham died, and the people went through a whole lot, and they got actually enslaved in Egypt. And that's when the story, if anybody ever saw the movie, The 10 Commandments, with Moses and all that, I actually have never watched that all the way through, but it comes on every year around Easter time. So anyway, so Moses had to lead the people out of Egypt to the promised land because that's where God had already told them that they would be. Let me check my time here. That's where God had already told them that they would be. Okay, so God wanted them to go there for a reason. Their purpose was to show the other people God's power, okay? So they've got to go there. God said, you're going to show people who I am, that I'm the God of all gods. And so you're going to go there and you're going to do that. So when they go there, they march around in the wilderness, big long story, but they finally get to the promised land. They cross over the Jordan River. And they get to the promised land, and guess what, y'all? There are other people there. Okay. I've been messing up on my slides, y'all. Okay, so that was the one slide with the promise and the purpose. Okay. There are other people in the promised land. Wait a minute, God. God said this was our land. This was an inheritance from Father Abraham. What are all these people doing here? That was the part that got me too, because if somebody gives you a gift, wouldn't you think that you just unwrap the gift and go on and take it? Right? I mean, nowadays, we don't even like unwrapping gifts. It's too hard to unwrap the gift with the ribbon and the tape and all of that. We just want the gift back so we can reach in and take it out. And then I look at the scripture here, and it says, but I have said to you, this is God, you shall inherit their land. He's talking to the people as they're roaming around in the wilderness before they get there. He said, you shall inherit their land, and I will give it to you to possess a land flowing with milk and honey. That's what God, to possess. How are you going to give me something and then make me fight for it? Because that's exactly what they had to do. When they arrived at the promised land, they began to encounter some of their toughest battles. Before then, on the journey there, they were walking through the wilderness. It wasn't, a great life. They were eating different things, milk and honey, just manna. They weren't, living the life, but they weren't having to do all of these tough battles either. But when they got to the place where they were destined to be, that is when the fighting occurred. And that is true for you and for me. Because when we get to the business that we wanted to start, that we had been dreaming of starting, and we organized this business, and we talked to the people at WEAC, we talked to Leslie, and she coaches Leslie at the Women's Entrepreneurial Opportunity Center. Did I get that right? Okay. And she's a business coach, and she tells people how to start their businesses. But here's the thing, though: when you start that business, and 3 people come to your launch, when you start that marriage, and he was looking good. Wasn't he looking good, Kathy? He was. I don't even know if Kathy's married. I'm just saying. And then a little time goes by and things start happening, and he's not always cute in the morning time or at the nighttime. It's a battle. That's where some of you are right now. You're in the job of your dreams. You fought your way up that ladder. And now you get here and you're working 60, 70 hours. Hello. Now, the battle begins. And that may be why, if you had a hard time answering question number 1, are you living the life you're supposed to live? It may be why, because you thought everything was going to be turning up roses. And it's turning up battles. So living intentionally, doing what you can, and what you're supposed to do in service and helping others and all of those types of things. Living with purpose and coming into that promise, your destination, where you feel you are destined to go, is not easy. It's not going to be easy. And you know why? Oops. I think, was somebody supposed to tell me my time? Okay. Because there's going to be squatters. Squatters in the land. Squatters, if you don't know what squatters are people who pitch their tent in places where landlords are not there, and they just decide that I'm going to make this my house, like it's an abandoned house. And they just start living there. That's a squatter. And in some states, they have squatters' rights, and you can't kick the person out after they live there for such and such a time. But squatters are in the land. Squatters were in the promised land. When the people got to the promised land, there were all these others there. There were the Perizzites and the Izzites and the Hittites, and I might have made some of those up. But there were people in the land. And those were the people that they had to fight in order to possess it. Because what we've got to do is we've got to possess it because it's already yours. It's already yours. But there might be some haters. There might be some haters in the land. I didn't realize the amount of haters and obstacles I would encounter in the nonprofit sector. I mean, because nonprofit, that's supposed to be really nice and rosy and cute place to work, right? We're helping people. But no, there are a lot of politics and who you know and different things going on. And so I'm like, okay, no, I'm encountering some haters, really? Obstacles, wrong attitudes, fear, doubt, selfish ambition. Sometimes we want to do it just for ourselves, but that's not typically the purpose. Because whatever your purpose is, it's going to be to help somebody else. Pride gets in the way. And we have to humble ourselves. You know what? One thing I have found out is that the promise will humble you. When you're living your life intentionally and you got somewhere to go, you're headed to your promised land or you're already there, you feel like you are right where you're supposed to be, you're going to make some mistakes. It's not always going to be somebody else. It could be you. You could be your own obstacle. And then, what do? You might want to use some of Andy's techniques from earlier with emotional intelligence to see how we can be better people to handle and manage what is on our plate. Why does this happen? Why do we encounter all these obstacles? Why does it have to be hard in the promised land? Why does living in purpose and living out your purpose bring these challenges? Well, remember when I told you what the purpose was for the people in the Bible story? To show the power of God? Well, power and strength are measured by resistance. In other words, if you go to the gym like Jamie, I just had to pick on her one more time. And you're lifting weights. You don't know how strong you are unless you measure the resistance that you're pushing up against. And so the people couldn't prove how strong and mighty their God was until they were confronted with an enemy. And so the enemy comes, and they're working with this God, and they defeat the enemy. Big, bad, strong enemies. Enemies housed in fortified cities, big walls all around them, and yet they defeat the enemy. And now people are like, okay, woo. They defeated the people at Jericho and all of the, okay, wow. And they're proclaiming that they have this God. That must be a strong God. Well, you can apply that story to yourself. Who are you fighting up against? What are you fighting against? Is it there to punish you? No. But can it demonstrate the strength of who you really are in ways that you never even thought of? You didn't even know you were that strong until the enemy came up and you overcame that too. I was trying to get this program off the ground for my little nonprofit. And I shouldn't say my little nonprofit. It's an amazing nonprofit. And I was trying to get this program launched. And I'd been working with a certain organization. What I needed to launch a certain program was $10,000. And I was working with this group to get the $10,000. We had been working together for like a year on this. But then when it came down to it, I realized they weren't going to give me the 10. I said, okay. Because now I already got things put out there, like we're going to do this. Okay. So what's going to happen? Because I'm not the one to go around raising money. I'm just not that good at it, or so I thought. But 1 week later, I had set up a meeting with a private donor. And in this 2-hour lunch, I had secured not the 10,000, but 10 times the 10,000, 100,000. That was not me. God put something on the man's heart or something happened. I don't know. I was like, that was a guy, and I was like, are you sure about this? Okay. But I'm telling you that when you begin to walk in your promise and overcome the haters, overcome the obstacles, set those things off to the side and say, you know what? I'm going to keep on walking in purpose. If that's an obstacle, okay, let me go over here. I'm walking in purpose. Oh, you don't want to help? Oh, look, over here. You don't want to, okay. And all the rejection that you've encountered, if you continue to walk in your purpose, God's got a promise. There is a promise for you. There is a promised land. And you're going to experience bountiful, bountiful blessings. You're going to experience what I call, but I did. Some time ago, in one of my lowest periods, I had been rejected, didn't have that husband, children, none of that was working in my life. I was like, oh my God, what am I here for? And I sat down at my computer and I began to type a poem. Never thought that I would make it, but I did. I never thought that I could take it, but I did. And I want to entreat each of you to think of your but I did story. You never thought that you were going to overcome that illness, but you did. You never thought that you were going to overcome all the sadness that you were feeling at that one moment, but you did. You never thought that you could generate the energy, the wisdom to be in the position where you are right now, but you did. You never thought you would get the job, but you did. What's your but I did story? I'm telling you that as you continue to walk in that purpose toward the promise, you're getting stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger. I'm going to leave you. Oh, y'all, I totally keep forgetting this. Okay, so here I was talking about the promise cycle, and a lot of times the promise cycle goes like this. I want it, you dreamt about it, you got it, And then, should I keep it? But if you, yes, she said kind of like relationships. That is very true. I've had a few of those. So you're in this cycle, and the issue is that many of us get caught up in that third realm. Should I keep it? And we'll turn back. But I'm telling you, I want to encourage you today, don't turn back. Possess it. Possess it. Own it, girl. Own it. Keep walking. Don't let these people distract you. Don't let obstacles that come your way discourage you. You come up against a hindrance, then you go right on around and keep on going. Keep stepping until you can fully possess it. And I'm going to end with this one thing. She gave me my 5 minutes, but I think I got about two more. Okay? I'm just going to end with another poem that I had written. Okay. Another thing that I had written, you are empowered, equipped, and enough, and you are a masterpiece. And again, I hope that I'm not offending anyone by continually referring to the Bible, but that's kind of my base. If you have another base, that's fine. I just want you to relate to what I'm saying. There was another poem that I had written, and it's based on a passage of Scripture, Ephesians 2:10, which is one of my favorite passages. The New Living Translation version. I'm getting old, as you can see. I can't see this unless I put my glasses on. And that scripture says, "For we are God's masterpiece." And so I wrote a poem called "The Masterpiece." With gentleness, he used his hand to craft this thing unique to man, a portrait made by his design and offering for all mankind. And so the painter moved with haste as he prepared to sketch the face. Before the natural world could see, he made the eyes, the nose, the cheeks. Now, I wished that as he dipped his oils, I could have told him of his spoils. The neck too long, the pudgy belly, the hips too wide, the thighs like jelly. But soon he laid his tools aside, wiped down his brow, and smiled with pride. It had turned out just as he'd planned with each stroke of his mighty hand. He never put it up for sale or feel ashamed or that he'd failed. He'd keep this masterpiece in view and marvel at what it might do. He handled it with love and care through long, rough days with frazzled hair, through depression and sadness and sick and thickened skin, through mistakes that seemed to lie within. Now others gazed upon the sight and tried to pick the wrong from right. They mocked the portrait for its hue and laughed at lies they hoped were true. The painter never took offense, too captured by magnificence. At least that's how he saw his work, a lovely thing formed from the dirt. And after staying put a while, one day that portrait seemed to smile, stepped down from off that fitted frame, and sought the one who called her name. At last, is what the painter said. My masterpiece has reared her head, come down from off that dreary wall, and claimed the right to stand up tall. I wondered when you'd realize the strength that I put in you lies not in the pretty strokes I've done, but ugly ones you overcome. The portrait, who was filled with peace, to be set free, her soul released, said, I heard your calling all along, but I was scared I'd get it wrong. So I stayed bound until your voice was so intense I had no choice but to accept unfailing grace that never once forsook this face. It took some time to figure out what your display was all about. Now I'm alive enough to see the masterpiece you made was me. God bless you.
Thank you so much, Sharon. That was incredible. Thank you. We have a gift for you from the First Fridays Women's Committee. Thank you. And I have to say, when I first met Sharon, it's been maybe 6, 7 years ago, I was at an event like this, and I sat at her table, and one of your relatives was sitting in between us, and she started telling me about Sharon, and Sharon was sitting over there like, you stop saying anything about me. And we've kept in touch since, and so she's been a blessing. Thank you so much this morning, Sharon. Yes. Yes, the poem is at her table. Wonderful. Thank you for asking. So, ladies, now it's time for our break. It is just 12 after 10. We're on time. So if you could all be back here at 10:40. Before we go on break, if you want to remove the obstacles on the floor, we don't want anyone testing their strength this morning. Remove any cups, any boxes on the floor so that as we are moving around, we can freely move. Feel free. We're going to meet back here at 10:40, 10:35. Thank you. And let's give Wallace Butts another hand. He's been over here so quietly playing. Thank you. Okay, so now you are going to hear from our third speaker. But first, I'm going to introduce the lady who will be introducing our third speaker, Cassie Lamb. Cassie, and some of you know her, Cassie has been a member of the Fort Wayne community since she was 5 years old. A new career brought her family to the area where she grew up on the southwest side of Fort Wayne. She attended Black Hawk Christian High School after graduation from Ball State University with a degree in exercise science. I tell you, these ladies are going to motivate us to all be fit. She pursued a career in corporate health and wellness with Apex Benefits, where she is their Kinetic Health Program Manager. Cassie runs mini marathons, plays volleyball, and loves cheering the Notre Dame Fighting Irish football team. See, so you have some fellow fans. Cassie is also on our First Fridays Women's Empower Committee. Okay, you know, she's the amazing person who can multitask and run with projects, the person who empowers you to sleep better at night. That's Cassie. Come on up, Cassie. Yes, no, I will tonight.
Good morning, everybody. What a fantastic Friday it's been so far. So it's my distinct pleasure to introduce you all to our next speaker. She's a published author, certified speaker, obviously, professional sales executive coach, and she joined the John Maxwell team in 2015 and actually became officially certified this year and had the chance to meet John Maxwell, so she's got some good stories there. She's a leader that walks the walk and talks the talk. She has her bachelor's in communications from DePaul University, buckle up, a nursing degree from St. Francis, and an MBA from Western Governors University, with a personal growth plan to possibly go on for her PhD in organizational leadership, and I'm positive that she will make it happen if she puts her mind to it. She's previously served on the board of directors for the Fort Wayne Ballet and currently serves on the board of Lutheran Hospital. She is a next-level leader who embraces the opportunity to bring value to those of us who want to excel in life, regardless of your professional focus, and her energy and drive to succeed are incredibly contagious. She's a mom of 3 highly successful young adults, and she'll be the first to tell you that her priorities are incredibly important and family always comes first. She's the proud new grandmother of a baby boy, Jackson Robert. She's got great pictures of him, too. And my goodness, Nancy, is he lucky to have you as a role model. So please join me in welcoming Nancy Ball Blake and prepare to get into the uncomfort zone. Come on up, Nancy.
Well, good morning. Oh my goodness. I am overwhelmed today, you guys, because first of all, I'm so happy to be with each and every one of you and to see so many familiar faces out there. And I don't know about you, but I'm empowered. How about you? Yes? Are we ready to go? Okay. But before we get started, I have to ask you, have you heard about this new department store that's coming to Fort Wayne? No, really. There's a store in New York City, and it's called the Husband Store. Yeah. It's where you go and you can pick out your husband, right? Yeah. So the store only has 6 floors itself, all right? And you can visit each floor one time. Now you can go up, but you cannot go down, all right? And you can pick any item from any store, or any floor of the store. And as you go up, supposedly, each floor increases in value. So this one woman decided to go to the husband store to pick out her husband, right? So she enters the floor, first floor, and the sign on the door reads, "These men have jobs." Good start. Good start. So she went on up to the second floor. Sign on the door read, "These men have jobs and love kids." Not bad, not bad. So she went on up to the third floor. Sign on the door read, "These men have jobs, love kids, and are extremely good looking." The woman's like, okay, now you're getting my attention, right? Okay. So she goes up to the fourth floor. Sign on the door reads, "These men have jobs, love kids, are extremely good looking, and they help with the housework." Oh my gosh, mercy, she says. I don't know if this is get much better, but I'm going up to the fifth floor. So she gets up there. Sign on the door reads, "These men have jobs, love kids, are extremely good looking, help with the housework, and have a very strong romantic streak." Okay. She's thinking to herself, you know what, this can't get much better, but I'm curious. I'm going up to the 6th floor. So she goes on up to the 6th floor. You know where this is going, don't you? Sign on the door read, "You are visitor 31,456. To this floor, there are no men. This floor exists solely as proof women are impossible to please." You like that, didn't you? Well, I don't know if we're impossible to please, but one thing I do know for sure, we are life learners, and we're here to become empowered. Now, Andy did such a terrific job with teaching us emotional intelligence, and oh my God, Sharon, you knocked it out of the park as far as finding our purpose. But what I would like to do with you today is discover intentional growth. So I have to ask you, you may be surprised to hear that every single day of my life, I look forward to the opportunity to be uncomfortable. You're thinking, she's off her nut. No, seriously, because when we get uncomfortable, we're offered the greatest opportunity to learn, grow, and develop into extraordinary individuals. That shift from status quo and being in the pile to becoming extraordinary individuals is what I want to discover with you today. Now, I see so many familiar faces, and good to see a lot of people that I used to work with today. But for those of you I have not met yet, I think you might be surprised to hear that I really didn't have a clear picture of where my life's journey was going to take me until September 17th, 2017. That was the date that I published my first book called Resilience, Seeing Your Strength. What began as really a journal documenting some of the most difficult times of my life, and trust me, they were, became a legacy piece for my children, but for me, it set me on the path to begin to live my life intentionally. Now, I don't know about you, but when I become intentional, I honestly feel like we develop the cornerstone of growth. And that's confidence, right? John Maxwell says the two most important days of your life are the day you were born and the day you discover why. Well, I found my why, and from that point forward, I have challenged myself to help others become the heroes of their own personal stories through speaking, writing, and also coaching. You know, I think getting uncomfortable led to so many growth opportunities in my life. Like, I remember back in college, okay, in undergrad, I was 3.5 years into the pre-med program at DePaul University, and I was required to take an elective in communications. Well, I fell in love with it. I mean, I literally fell in love with the art. And so second semester junior year, and much to the chagrin of my parents, I got uncomfortable, and I switched my major, and I graduated with a Bachelor of Arts in Communications. You know, it's funny, now that I think about it, there might have been a situation when I was much younger that led to that result. How many of you remember the old paper report cards? Oh my gosh, you do, right? Okay, yeah, the kind that they handwrite your letter grades on there. And on the front, they have reading, writing, arithmetic, science, social studies. I know they don't teach that anymore, but hey, you know, it's good. And then on the flip side, you have art and gym, which weren't every semester. And then, of course, they ranked your behavior, right? It was satisfactory, unsatisfactory, or definitely needs improvement. And then my favorite spot on the back of the report card was the comment section. Yeah! So I actually remember back in second grade, this semester, in the comments section were the words, "talks too much and bothers neighbors." Oh my God. Seriously, me? Talks too much and bothers neighbors? Oh my God. Well, let me just tell you this, Mrs. Heblithwaite from Harrison Hill Elementary, and yes, I do remember her name. All that talking too much and bother neighbors stuff, guess what? That worked out pretty well for me as an adult. Yep, sure did. So, in the years to follow, as a full-time working mom with one in diapers, I returned to school, and I got my nursing degree from St. Francis University right here in Fort Wayne. We have any cougars in the crowd? Woo! Yeah, nice. I mean St. Francis Cougars. Yep. Although the other kind is okay too. It's all good. It's all good. It's all good. Oh gosh, I really made it. Oh gosh, I won't even go there. All right, but then at a tender age of 60, and yes, I am over 60, I returned to academia and I earned my MBA from Western Governors University. But you see, education has always been such an important part of my life. It's the foundation that I build upon year after year. And you know what? It's not so much the knowledge learned, it's the knowledge applied to my life that makes a difference. You know? I got uncomfortable, and I did it anyway. So, I'm really bad at this clicker thing too, and is it the, yeah. Oh, there we go. There we go. Okay, so, another, you'll love this. Maybe not. Oh, okay. Another journey completely outside my comfort zone was when I earned the title of Miss Delaware, 1984, and I went on to the Miss America pageant. As a result of my performance that year, I was selected by George Cavalier, the producer of the Miss America pageant, to tour with the Gillette Miss America troupe. Now, our group traveled throughout the United States and performed in front of national corporations in efforts to support the personal care division of Gillette, as well as the Miss America Scholarship Organization. which actually now, so I hear, is the largest nonprofit provider of scholarship assistance to young women in the world. Well, you see, that experience, those 2 years, provided such incredible personal growth for me, and my takeaway is this. When you take massive action and you test drive your talents and your skill sets, it opens you to a whole new world you never knew you could be a part of. And, actually, you'll love this. There's a funny little story that actually led up to that experience. I was Miss Fort Wayne 1982 first. I know. Yeah. And I had a whole year to prepare for the Miss Indiana pageant for 1983, of which I finished in the top 10. I'm thinking, yay! Now, I'm thinking my pageant days are over, right? So I moved out east and to Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, and I landed my very first position with a mid-size ABC affiliate called WMDT in Salisbury, Maryland. At the time, I was working for an on-the-air staff position, but I had to pay my dues, and I was selling advertising and, shooting commercials. And I tell you, God works in amazing ways. My very first client happened to be affiliated with the Miss Delaware pageant. Yeah, you can see the train coming, can't you? You know what happens, yeah. Well, she said, oh, you should really try pageants. I'm thinking, oh, God. Okay, so I got uncomfortable and I did it. But here's the cool thing. Are you ready for this? It just so happened that the young lady that I crowned Miss Fort Wayne, Miss Cindy Antis, went on to become Miss Indiana in 1984. And she and I represented Fort Wayne, Indiana from our respective states on the national stage the same year. I know. I can't make this stuff up. Well, seriously, the media went wild in Atlantic City, and it did render me about 152 radio and television interviews in 1 week's time. They don't want you to sleep when you get there. That's a for sure. That's a given, right? But, the thing that I learned about that experience was this. If I didn't act the day I was asked to consider taking another shot at pageants, if I didn't seize the opportunity to reflect back on previous performances to improve myself, if I didn't tell myself, if not now, then when, none of the personal growth would have happened. You got to really embrace that opportunity and grow. So in the years to follow, I moved back to Fort Wayne and became a wife and a mother of 3 incredible kids. I know I can't talk about them enough because they're my pride and joy. But, without a doubt, it was a life changer. Do we have any moms in the crowd? Look at that. Almost every hand went up. I love it, I love it, I love it. So you kind of know, I got a little soft spot for those kids. But it's funny how life rolls when you become very intentional about your growth. And so just 3 months ago, after 26 years in the insurance industry, I was with Physicians Health Plan here in Fort Wayne. I'm accelerating to a new chapter in my life. 1 word at a time, 1 sentence to follow, and chapter by chapter, I'm building a new career for myself. Am I? Thank you. Am I scared? Yeah. But I face my fear and I do it anyway. Am I unsure of myself at times? Yeah, but no offense, guys, but I do stop and ask for directions along the way. I do, really. Am I uncomfortable? Well, yeah, but that's what we're here to do, to get a little uncomfortable. And one of the things that I recognize is the strongest emotion wins the day. So I recommend feeding your faith and starving your fear. In the words of my mentor, Dr. John C. Maxwell, if you want your life to be a magnificent story, realize that you are its author. So I'm kind of curious. What does intentional growth look like, right? I just finished a really good book. It's called Change Your World. Has anybody read that yet? It's also a Maxwell book. Can you tell I'm like Maxwell DNA lately? But it is a very good book. And it's really interesting because Dr. Maxwell says, people will change their situations when 3 things happen. Number 1, you hurt enough that you must change. How many's been there? Yeah. Number 2, you become inspired enough that you want to make that change, right? Strong servant leadership that you witness, it inspires you to do more. And number 3, you learn enough that you're able to make the change. I don't know about you, but from getting to point A to point B, if I have a map to get me there, I'm more than likely to make that change, right? So, show a question. How many have experienced all that? All 3 of those in your lifetime? Yep. Absolutely. Well, I think, honestly, we really need to have a personal growth plan. So, what is a personal growth plan? Well, I kind of created my own little definition. And a personal growth plan is a plan of daily activities that focus on the top priorities of your life, which you do on a daily basis, and that leads toward your success. Let me repeat. A personal growth plan is a plan of daily activities that are focused on the top priorities of your life, no one else's, yours. Practice daily. That means consistency. That leads towards your success. So, my priorities happen to be my faith, my health, my family, and my career. So just to kind of see a growth plan in action, let's kind of break it down here real quick. Maybe. It's clicking all over the place. There we go. Okay. So, during the most difficult times in my life, God spoke to me in various ways. Although I didn't hear him right away because I was, being the victim mentality and poor, pitiful me. But when I did finally hear his strength to help me heal through those very, very difficult times, it made all the difference in the world. My dad had my dad is no longer with me, but he used to tell me, Nancy, when life gets tough, remember this. A tincture of time heals all wounds. And he's right. And I got through it. And to this day, God directs me towards his love through my spiritual map. And MAP for me stands for meditation, affirmation, and prayer. Now, you'll love this. How many times are you asked daily, hey, how you doing today? And you go, fine. Oh my gosh, I am so over the word fine. It's so benign that I'm taking it out of my vocabulary altogether. So, when somebody comes up to me, I actually give them my daily affirmation. You ask me, hey, Nancy, how you doing? I go, every day in every way, I'm getting better and better. That's right. Every day. That's right. And it does help. It really does help. So, I want to talk about health. Airlines nowadays are so focused on our safety, as they should be, right? And at the beginning of every flight, what happens? They talk about the safety features of the plane, and when the cabin pressure drops, what are you to do, right? Well, you're supposed to apply the oxygen mask to yourselves first, and then to your child, who is just dying over there. Oh my God. I never understood that, but I get it now. I get it. I really do. Unbelievable. But here's the thing. When the oxygen mask, I love that. When the cabin pressure of life takes a plunge, what are you supposed to do, right? You must put your health center stage. If you don't have your health, you can't bring value to others. You can't take your children to their sporting events. You can't show up at work and give it your 110%. You can't give back to your community and be there when they need you. That's why it's so important to implement what I call the RAND plan. And my RAND plan is this: rest to restore. A, activity, physically move. And N, nutrition. Now, I've kind of shared my story with a few folks here today, but I recently started this program called 75 Hard. Has anybody done it? Yes! It's hard, isn't it? Oh my God, it's so hard. Okay, I'm going to tell you what it is in a nutshell. 75 Hard is a program. It's more a program based on discipline. So for 75 days straight, I am to have 2 45-minute workouts a day. One must be outside, rain or shine. It was a bear yesterday, trust me. I have to drink a gallon of water and consistently run to the restroom as fast as I can, wishing I had a catheter. A gallon of water every day. Oh my goodness, yes. I have to read 10 pages in a self-development book. I have to take a picture of myself to see my progress, right? I can't cheat or I have to start all over. Oh God, that's a challenge. And I have to put myself on a diet that is geared towards weight loss. Now, I'm a pretty clean eater anyway, but that's working out pretty well for me. But here's the kicker. You can't cheat, like I said, and no alcohol, no Cabernet, no gin and tonic. It's okay. I'm on day 17, and I'm proud to announce that mental clarity is actually clicked in. This is good. I dropped 7 pounds, so the clothes are getting a little looser, and I feel like I have actually created a shift. I got uncomfortable in my life, and I said, I'm going to do this. I can do anything for 75 days. And you know what I'm finding? It's not how long do I have to go, it's how far can I go after doing this. So that's kind of my health plan, right? I'm going to talk to you a little bit about family. Now, obviously, in my personal growth plan, my family is the top priority of my life, you know. And as Cassie was so kind to mention, I became a new grandmother July 17th to Jackson Robert Blake. Oh my God, he's so cute. Oh, the little cheeks. Every time I get with him, I just want to pinch his cheeks. He's so cute. But it's really important to me that I communicate with my kids every day. I do. I know, they're like, Mother, please, not another phone call. But, you know, no, I text message or I email them or I have a conversation or I actually get to see them in person, which I'm telling you, it is without a doubt such a thrill every time I can get together with them. And every conversation that I end with them, I tell them I love them. You know, that might not seem like much, but I would hate to think that something would happen and they didn't know how much they meant to me, right? And it's not so much just, I love you. It's, I love you because you bring such value into my life. You know, it's important to connect with your family, to create opportunities to be together and make memories. So I had mentioned that I do have a new career path. As I'd mentioned, I'm helping others become the heroes of their own personal stories. And it's funny, now that I have this incredible passion that's coming to life for me, I do 2 things on a daily basis as part of my personal growth plan. Number 1, I study every single day to discover new and unique ways of bringing value to people every single day. And number 2, I practice for at least 1 hour, much more, on my craft. You know, I recently returned from the John Maxwell International Certification event, where there were 136 countries represented that week. I met so many amazing professionals from Nigeria and South Africa and England and Australia and the United States, but each one of those professionals brought so much inspiration in my heart. I was just beside myself. I really was starstruck. But one of the things that I learned from that whole experience was this. We must put people first. We need to get out of our ego and flip it on to other people and make them top priorities in our lives too. You know, every day, it's so important to make a connection with a person. Maybe it's somebody new, like today. How many people have met new people today? Yes. Isn't it great? And bring value to each one of those through your connection. As you leave here today, make sure that you're, spending time and following up. When you say, hey, you know what? Here's my business card. I want to check out what your business looks like. Connect with them. It's so important. Even a handwritten note would just absolutely make their day. So, intentional growth doesn't happen overnight, but it can and it will happen. If you have some kind of a key performance indicator to manage this, it starts with 3 things that I like to talk about. Number 1, mindset. We talked earlier, Sharon talked about, optimism and positive mindset. And it's so important to start with a positive attitude. But I like to think of it as becoming a possibilist. The difference is, a possibilist is someone who faces the reality as it is today. And it might not be a good place, but it also might be a really good place. And then seek the possibilities to establish solutions to their situation and take action to leap forward. Number 2, skill set. Become an expert at your passion. Earl Nightingale, anybody remember that guy? Earl Nightingale says, if you practice your passion or your skill for 1 hour every day, in 5 years, you can become an expert. I'm going to test drive that one. I'm going to see what happens in 5 years. And number 3, just get off your assets and take action. I mean, that's probably the most important thing, right? How many are procrastinators, right? All right, yeah, we just got to take that leap of faith and move forward. If I said it before, if not now, then when? Zig Ziglar said, you don't have to be great to get started, but you do have to start to become great, right? Absolutely. So I just want to pause for a minute. I want you to turn to the person to the right of you and just tell them this. You need a personal growth plan. Go ahead. Okay. That's good. That's really good. Okay, all right, good. You told that person they need a personal growth plan, right? Now I want you to turn back to that same person and tell them, and I might need it more than you. Oh, that's funny. You notice you weren't as powerful the second time when you said, I needed it more than you? Yeah. I love that. One of my favorite laws in John Maxwell's book, The 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth, is the law of awareness. And this really is one of my favorite. And the law just basically says this. You need to know yourself to grow yourself. Isn't that good stuff? Oh, I love it. So let's see how well we do know ourselves. We're going to have a little fun today. I have selected 3 individuals. I was going to do it blindly, but I did kind of give them a heads up. But anyway, there's 3 cards out there listed as UZP 1, 2, and 3. And it stands for Uncomfort Zone Participant. Yeah. And so if you have one of those cards, if you'd please stand and come join me on stage. We're going to have a little fun. Yay. Have a seat. Okay. Yeah, you got to go down. And I think Marjorie, where's Marjorie? Oh, there you are. She doesn't want to come up anymore. No, she's like, not happening. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to ask these lovely ladies some specific questions about some of their, thank you so much, I appreciate it, about some uncomfortable situations they've had. It's kind of like speed dating, but not really. You only have like 2 minutes to respond, but we're going to go through each one and see what their response is. So Marjorie, Nancy, I know, I am your friend, but it probably doesn't feel like it right now, does it? Huh? Okay, all right, good. Okay, so I'm going to tell you, actually I want to know, first of all, do you want to tell folks what you do?
Yes, I am CEO of the Better Business Bureau in Fort Wayne.
Very good. Okay, so your question is, tell us a situation where you had enough pain in your life that you were required to make a change. What happened? Why did it happen? And what steps did you take to personally grow?
Okay. I had a very defining moment. 4 years into my position, this is personal. I got a call from my daughter. My grandson had been in a car accident. It was I remember that day very vividly. It was extremely foggy. I went to the hospital. He was the driver of the car. He lived, but one of the girls didn't. You cannot imagine what a life-changing moment that was for our family. For 2 days, I sobbed. I cried. I was angry. Why did this happen? Finally, on the third day, I got down on my knees, put my hands up and said, God, I can't do this. I cannot handle this. Because there had been another thing that had happened to the young boy prior to that. His father passed away. And we dealt with that. So, for some reason, God heard me. And it really changed my life. I had a peace, I had a calm, and I turned it over to Him. What it's done for me, the defining thing is I have been able to help so many people. I'm not a counselor, but people that have walked into my life that I never knew. And I have been able to help them through my experience. I know it's a God thing. And I promise if you ever face with something like this, and I'm telling you, it's huge, you will get through it.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I appreciate it. Awesome. That was incredible. Thank you so much for sharing that. I know it took a lot. Okay, interview number 2. How are ya? This is Miss Maggie. Okay, Maggie. This is Maggie Lucan. We used to work together at PHP. And I would like to hear from you an opportunity where you were inspired to make a change. What happened? Why did it inspire you so much? And what steps did you take to personally grow?
Thank you. I debated on which story to tell here, but I think I'm going to go with a professional story. A couple months ago, I was working at PHP. Nothing was wrong. Everything was fine. I was pretty cozy in my job. And I was approached by a couple different companies to have me come work for them. And I debated long and hard about it and ended up going with USI, who I'm very happy to be with now. What inspired me was a couple different things that kind of made the decision for me. One, like I said, I was very cozy in my job, and I did feel like I wasn't really learning anymore or growing, so I felt like I needed to kind of step out and start learning something else for a while. I'd been there for almost 10 years. And two, it came down to who I was working for and with. And I do feel like I'm in a good team now with very smart women. I do feel like women have it together pretty well. Sorry, boys. So it came down to two of those important things to me. And like I said, I'm very happy to be there now and hope to grow and continue on.
Thank you so much, Maggie. That was wonderful. Thank you. Okay, this woman is a plant. I asked her to join me today. Unbelievable. This woman is the most magnificent person I've had the chance to be a part of. She's a dear friend of mine. She's my hairstylist. She has inspired me. She's been through all of my ups and downs and everywhere in between. And she has an incredible personal growth story to share with you and an exciting announcement. So please welcome Jen Chapin-Miller.
Thank you. No pressure. So I'm a creature of habit. I don't like change at all. It's like I have to do like little inch baby steps. Any big change in my life, I got to take it like one little centimeter at a time. I was at a salon for 9 years. I was very comfortable there. Loved all the girls that I worked with. And there was a little bit of drama that I became uncomfortable with. So within one day, I left that salon. Within a split decision. So I left on a Friday, started at a new salon on Monday, and I had talked about opening up my own salon for 14 years. And at that moment, I was like, well, why not? Like, it's never a better opportunity than now. So I got extremely uncomfortable. I'm still extremely uncomfortable because I'm in the process of doing it. I'm realizing I have no idea what I'm doing. Thank God there's people out there that do. But yeah, that was my uncomfortable. I just kind of figured, I was like, you know what? Why not? Like, I keep saying it. I keep thinking it. I have these dreams. I have a 5,000 picture Pinterest board of like everything I'd want in my salon. And, so through this, I have realized too, like really what I want to create, like thinking about it and talking about it and planning it. And, Leslie Hill's been a part of it. She's helped us out a ton. But yeah, I just kind of had to think of what I wanted our salon to be, like what our brand to be. And it's just been an incredible journey. And it's, that's how I got uncomfortable. I was like, well, let's go. FYI, it's called Aura Beauty Lounge. It'll be opening 2022.
There you go. Awesome. Weren't they wonderful? Oh my gosh. Thank you guys so very much. Before you go, I have little gifts for each one of you. Here you go. There you go. And in the little bag is a coffee mug that reads, "She believed she could, and so she did." Thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate that. Okay, well, come on, last slide. It's the last one. I just want to leave you with one final nugget today. In the words of Jim Rohn, the greatest gift you can give someone is the gift of your own personal development. I want to thank you very much for joining me today. It would be my honor to work with each and every one of you to find new and energizing ways to grow personally and professionally. If you would like to find out more, please reach out to me on my website at talktonancy.com, or you can contact me via email at nancy@talktonancy.com. See, I just keep it really simple. And then if you'd like to pick up a book after this, please do so. I will be there. And I just want to thank you very, very much. It's been an honor and a privilege to be here with each and every one of you today. Please go out and live intentionally. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nancy. She was wonderful, wasn't she? Let's give her another round of applause. There's something about just doing things that are uncomfortable, that there is a lot of strength and empowerment in that. So thank you for sharing that with us this morning. We have a gift to give you from the First Fridays Women's Committee. Thank you.
Oh, it's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. So, ladies, now is the time where we're going to have some giveaways. Okay, so I love giveaways. At this time, I'm going to call Rachel Kerr to the platform. For those of you who do not know Rachel, she's going to lead us in this thing called giveaway. So she's been a professional Hoosier since entering the workforce as a teenager. She is a business services representative at Northeast Indiana Works, Work One. She serves employers in Northern Indiana. She has decades of experience working in a variety of nonprofit sectors, serving communities through health and wellness, education, athletic coaching, and business management. In all of her ventures, she has found God to be faithful and gracious in every season he gives, and she gives him all the glory for everything she's been able to accomplish. Thank you, Rachel. And I want to add, she's also on the First Fridays Women's Committee as well. She's helping me keep my sanity, too.
Thank you. That was an uncomfortable zone. Okay. All right, so my job is pretty easy today. We're going to do a couple giveaways, and then Sharon and Nancy, if you want to bring me the names of your winners, that would be fantastic. I do want to remind everybody that if you signed up for a vendor giveaway, they will be contacting their winners on their own time, and then you will make a connection and make plans with them to pick up your gifts from them. But first, we're going to do a giveaway. Oh, well, this is also uncomfortable. Okay. This is why I go to CrossFit, so I can make these moves in heels. All right. So, Andy, can you give me a number 1 to 218? 7. And the lucky winner of this Vera Bradley bag is Amanda, is it Sliger? Yay! This is super cute. You're welcome. All right, so now we have another one. And Sharon, can you give me a number? 1 to 200 and what did I say? 18, but not 7. 159. Mindy Hartwick. Mindy, are you here? Mindy going once. All right. Well, Nancy, can you pick a number between 1 and 218 that is not 7 and not 159? 186. Sharon Tubbs. Woo, that's what happens when you bring down the house. I don't know, ask Jan. She asked if that was allowed, and we just have to ask our fearless leader. Okay, so Andy has a gift basket, and the winner of that gift basket, which she can pick up at the back table, is Kelly Anthony. Kelly, are you here? So you can see Andy at the end of the event. All right. Nancy has a free coaching session to give away to Laura Lindsay. Where are you, Laura? All right. Well, Laura, I don't have anything physical to give you, but at the end of the event, you can contact Nancy at her table. All right. And Sharon has a gift basket for Danielle Tuck. Woo! Yeah, girl. All right, she is feeling inspired and empowered. You're welcome. Enjoy. All right, and finally, if you look in your swag bags, and if you find a blue piece of paper that mentions a mum, we have some mums down here underneath the PowerPoint, and we also have 3 over here in the fireplace. So if you have a blue piece of paper, please make sure you pick up your mom at the end of the event.
Thank you, Rachel. Oh, thank you, ladies. It has been an incredible morning, hasn't it? Woo! So in just a moment, we'll give you one last opportunity to visit with our vendors. We would again like to say thank you to our sponsors. Oh, hold on. There we go. Indiana Wesleyan University, National and Global, Brotherhood Mutual, Chuck and Lisa Chirac of Sweetwater, Global Leadership Summit and beyond, USI Insurance Services. Ladies, make sure you wear your bracelets out. Three Rivers Federal Credit Union, DeBrand Fine Chocolates, and Vera Bradley. Thank you. Thank you to our sponsors who sponsored tables and vendors. Let's give them a hand. And I'd also like to especially thank the Charles for hosting us and hosting this event. Many of you don't know, this has been in planning for, 25 months. And we were going to have our event at another venue, and I got the call last month that said, no, you're not. So the Charles was wonderful. They were kind enough to say, you know what, we'll do whatever it takes for you to have your event here, and they did. So the neat thing, too, is the Charles is a female-owned business, and so they were thrilled to host us. So thank you, the Charles. Also, the Choice Designs, thank you for your contributions and the decor on our platform this morning. We really appreciate that. Also, Choice Designs, they were literally that way. Like you can see their building if you peek out the window. So after 12:15, feel free, just this one time, they're going to open the doors and have an open house for anyone that would like to go over and visit. So feel free to do that. Thank you also to the IWU National and Global Marketing team. Thank you very much. They did a great job on this design, and I don't have a booklet, but if you notice on some of our marketing pieces, it just has this progression of a caterpillar, and that's on our bracelets, and going into a cocoon and hibernating, and then coming out a butterfly. Well, you know, the artist that put that together had no idea what we were going to be facing with all of the craziness in the last 18 months. And so it's a special day today that we can be together and we can celebrate that. So the artwork even shows it. Also, thank you to Sarah Arnold, CEO of Socially Seasoned, and the Better Business Bureau of Northern Indiana, Nicole and Marjorie Stevens. Thank you. They helped with some of our marketing pieces that went out. Special thanks to those who were involved with Empower, mostly behind the scenes, our Empower volunteers. If you could stand, we just want to thank you publicly, our Empower volunteers. Thank you so much. We appreciate that. And thank you also to Doug Bowman. He is our First Fridays photographer. Doug, can you stand? Thank you. Doug has not missed one women's event. In fact, he's not missed a regular First Fridays event. He has been the guy behind the camera this whole time. You hardly notice him, but he'll come by the table and take your picture and then move on. But he's been wonderful. Thank you so much, Doug. He's given us some marvelous pictures over the year. We really appreciate that. Did you also see the Empower commercial? Wasn't that wonderful? Did you see that at the beginning? That was great. We have another guy who is also behind the scenes, behind the camera. That's Scott Drummond. Scott, thank you so much. He founded Life on Mission Project, and he put together that amazing commercial. We've also adopted him as our First Fridays videographer as well. Thank you, Scott. So there's another guy behind the scenes this morning that is familiar to you most likely, but you may not have seen him, and that is Jerry Johnson. He's sitting back there. Jerry has been covering for everyone who's had a PowerPoint presentation this morning. If our clickers don't work, he's been advancing that, so he's done a great job. Many of you already know, but if you don't, Jerry Johnson is the co-founder of First Fridays Fort Wayne. And his brother Jim is joining us online this morning. Let's all wave and say hi to Jim. Hi, Jim. So, ladies, you have to know something about these brothers. It was their idea to put on a women's event. And what better two guys who really support women's empowerment. And so I would like us to do something. They've worked tirelessly in our community to advance individuals, men and women, personally and professionally. Can we just take a moment to recognize them? Can you stand up and just give them an applause? So ladies, remain standing, please. I would like to have the Empower Committee come up on the platform. And as they're coming up, we have two Empower Committee members who could not be present. Molly Roman, she was here this morning, but she had to leave early. And Heather Clampett could not be with us today because there was a conflict with this date months ago. But, you know, we were all in this together, and I want to personally thank each of these ladies for their hard work, their diligence, their ideas, their initiative, their leadership. I love each of you. And I would not have been able to do this without this team. They've been wonderful. Thank you for empowering me to lead. We had a lot of fun times, but we had hard and tough decisions to make on whether even to move forward with Empower this year. We were really ready for today, believe me, and we were thankful to God, to the Lord Jesus, for the way everything turned out. We did a lot of praying, and He answered. So before you go, please visit with the vendor tables, but we're going to do one last thing. Can you open up your booklets to the last inside page? It's page 27. And I'd like to invite these speakers to come up on the platform as well. Andy and Nancy. So, ladies, we've heard from 3 best in-class speakers. Thank you again, Andy, Sharon, and Nancy. We've been poured into this morning. We've been encouraged. We've been challenged. So we want you to leave today believing that you have been empowered to make a difference, whatever your sphere of influence, wherever God has placed you. So let's say this together. Let's say it and mean it. We're gonna read through this. It's going to be also up on the screen. So when you say you are empowered, turn to a lady, turn to someone next to you and say, you are empowered. Let's say it again. You are empowered. Yes. Okay, so let's read through this in its entirety. I have power. I have power. I have the power. I have the power. 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 I have the power to dream. I have the power to make my dreams a reality. I will make mistakes along the way. But I will grow, and I will learn. I will work hard and hustle to reach my goals. I will love fiercely and commit fully. And I will never ever give up. Because I have the power to make a difference. Beautiful. Give yourselves a hand. So before you visit the vendor tables one last time, Kina and I've been announcing Wally, Wallace Jr. all morning, and Kina drove from Indy to be with us today. And so we just really appreciate her. So ladies, we're going to give her just a minute to sing for us and for Wally and to sing before we leave. But thank you again for attending First Friday's Women's Empower 2021. Save the date for June 10th, 2022, Lord willing. If you're interested in attending any of our free First Fridays Fort Wayne events, please register on our website, and that information is in the booklet. Thank you so much. Thank you for making today a success. Appreciate you all.